Kirby has, once again, come back to Dreamland in a deluxe version of his Dreamland Adventure on the Wii. Several new things were added, including some copy abilities. Let's find out how they stack up against each other. Hey guys, I'm Brad with 1UP Binge, and this is Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe Copy Abilities, worst to best. We'll be starting with the worst copy ability and working our way up to the best. Unsurprisingly, the sleep ability takes the last spot. It's hardly a true ability. Sleep is more of a hurdle for regular Kirby players. Kirby falls asleep immediately upon acquiring it, eliminating player control. The game developers seem to have incorporated this ability for trolling purposes. You can hasten sleep's end by button pressing, and waking up does trigger a minor attack, but its practical utility is minimal. It's a bad ability. Sleep is more of a nuisance than an aid. Its real-life equivalent, helping us sleep on demand, would be a different matter entirely. Staying out of the bottom is the Crash ability. Now, don't get us wrong, this is an incredibly powerful move that Kirby can use. Upon activation, Kirby can release a massive explosion of energy that can wipe out most, if not all, enemies on screen. Think of it like Shadow's Chaos Blast attack. This could come in handy in boss fights for sure. However, while the power is unquestionable, its scarcity is what brings it all the way down near the bottom. The amount of times you're able to obtain Crash when playing through the main game are too few and far between. You can access it anytime you want in the ability rooms in Magolor's ship, but that's more to showcase it and doesn't help you progress. Even if you somehow found it in the arenas or boss rushes, it can only be used once before it disappears, which doesn't help its place on the list either. That being said, this is probably for the best. If you can somehow get Crash more often through regular gameplay, Crash would probably become ridiculously overpowered and make the game way too easy, especially if you can use it more than once each time you found it. Next, we have the Mike ability. Much like Crash, Mike can take out most if not all enemies on screen. The big difference is that, while Crash can only be used once, Mike can be used up to 3 times. This allows it to be handier than Crash in that regard. However, it still has some of the same issues. It's very rare in the main game, and it's gone once it's used up. That being said, Kirby rocks that green mohawk, so at least he has that going for him. We now move on to the high jump ability. This is pretty self-explanatory. Kirby is able to jump relatively high or even dive pretty far when using this, especially if he changes it. Any regular enemy in his way while jumping or diving will be defeated. It also comes in handy on occasion that you can steer a bit while airborne. Overall, it's fun to use, especially once you get the hang of it. However, there are times where the high jump is really needed. There are only 1 or 2 instances that come to mind where this ability is actually useful, particularly if you're trying to 100% the game. Other than that, high jump almost doesn't even need to be there. Its saving grace is how you can use it however many times you want. It is fun to use when you have access to it, and the challenge on Magolor's ship surrounding the ability is very satisfying. Not to mention the ability gives Kirby a cool superhero costume. Kirby for the MCU, anyone? Next, we have Festival Kirby. While this ability is not new, it is new for this game, as it was brought over from Star Allies. This ability functions in a very similar fashion to both Crash and Mike, meaning that it's a limited use attack that is able to take out most threats at once. So what exactly makes it stand out from the other two? Well, besides making Kirby look like a walking NBC logo, this ability has some use after the initial explosion of power. Any defeated enemies that were on screen at the time will also be able to turn into either point stars or food, allowing Kirby to heal. It's also worth noting that this move's power is actually capable of increasing, depending on how many friends you have playing with you. For some bonus points, while in use, Kirby does his famous little dance, along with the all-too-familiar jingle that he normally does whenever he achieves victory. Now we have Needle Kirby. Unlike previous entries, Needle Kirby can use its move indefinitely, giving it an advantage. However, its moveset remains limited compared to other abilities. Most moves restrict Kirby's movements unless activated in mid-air. While the primary attack allows wall sticking, it offers minimal practical use. Notably, Needle Kirby's standout move involves curling into a spiky ball and launching forward, reminiscent of certain hedgehogs with a similar attack. Kirby's whip ability offers more enjoyment than practicality. It has a decent attack range and is effective for consecutive whip cracks. Its main advantage is reaching slightly distant objects and solving puzzles. However, it becomes impractical for close-range combat, especially against flying enemies. In the main game, only a few whip attacks see significant use compared to the rest. The wing ability, though lower on the list, excels in enhancing aerial movement with speed and smoothness. It offers strong moves that grant temporary invincibility. Notably satisfying are the diving attacks, inflicting damage and creating shockwaves, which prove useful for missed enemies. The feather gun attack serves well for cutting ropes and resembles a move one would expect from Decidueye. While the combo of toss and shuttle loop is enjoyable, it requires proximity to enemies to initiate. Though not the most damaging ability, the dive bomb and condor dive help compensate for this limitation. Next, we have Parasol Kirby. Parasol Kirby combines attack and defense capabilities. The Parasol swing serves as both an attack and a shield against projectiles, with the ability to change direction. Kirby's idle stance with the Parasol offers protection from projectiles from above. The Parasol drill and dive provide enjoyable combat options, while the Circus throw adds a humorous touch to defeating enemies. Additionally, the ability to use a Parasol underwater, although with limited moves, surpasses simply spitting water at foes. While not the most powerful moveset, the defensive properties, underwater functionality, and horizontal movement while floating compensate for the lower damage output. The bomb ability allows Kirby to pull bombs out of nowhere. The moveset revolves around handling and throwing bombs. They can be thrown directly or aimed before release. Bombs can also be set down to explode later, providing options to place them on enemies or near Kirby. However, the standout move is when Bomb Kirby rolls bombs at enemies like bowling balls, which proves surprisingly addictive. While the ability's usefulness lies more in puzzles and challenges, the bowling bomb stands out as the bomb ability's highlight and redeeming feature. Water Kirby is next. Surfing allows smooth movement on land, water, and even lava, causing minor damage to enemies in the way. Geyser resembles Needle's upward attack and doesn't stand out much. Two standout moves are Rainbow Rain, a visually pleasing multi-hit attack, and Wave Surf, where Water Kirby dashes and gains speed, plowing through enemies with a water wave. While hovering by spitting water downwards serves puzzle purposes, it's not frequently used outside of that. Vertical and horizontal movement is slow, making regular hovering or other moves more efficient. Disappointingly, most moves are unavailable underwater, except for an improved water gun attack with increased range and multiple jets of water. If Water Kirby had access to more moves underwater, especially in submerged levels, it could have achieved a higher ranking. Nonetheless, it still offers decent functionality. Moving on, Ninja Kirby offers a versatile moveset with over a dozen attacks and techniques. Favorites include the Stealth Slash for lunging forward and striking enemies with multi-hit damage. The Quad Shock combines katana slashes with a strong shockwave. Ninja Kick is a spammable move useful against certain bosses. Airdrop and Blossom Storm provide enjoyable visual effects. While Smoke Counter can be useful, it relies on being attacked, making it less commonly utilized compared to other moves. Despite not being the most powerful or widespread ability, Ninja Kirby offers a diverse range of long-range, direct attacks, counters, and more, catering to various playstyles. Similarly, Cutter Kirby, like Ninja Kirby, excels in slicing through enemies. Its primary attacks involve bladed boomerangs, which can be charged for increased strength. Notably, the blade's height can be adjusted, adding to its versatility. The bouncing capability of the blades creates a challenging attack for enemies to evade. Moreover, Cutter Kirby's blades are effective in cutting ropes, aiding in collecting energy spheres for 100% completion. However, the highly anticipated attack is the fan-favorite Final Cutter. It allows Kirby to unleash rapid-fire slashes on approaching enemies, concluding with a powerful upward strike that emits a beam upon impact with the ground. This iconic move has also made its way into the Smash Bros. Series as Kirby's Up B attack, a testament to its popularity. Fun fact, the scriptwriter's main character in Smash is Kirby. Hopefully, Cutter Kirby will gain more exciting attacks to further expand its arsenal in the future. But what if you wanted to poke at your enemies instead of slashing at them? No worries, because Spear Kirby has you covered. Spear Kirby has a poking alternative. With its longer reach, this ability provides Kirby an advantage in close combat. To overcome slightly distant enemies, up to 3 spears can be thrown simultaneously. The Spear Copter brings the most enjoyment, as Kirby spins the spear rapidly, mimicking a helicopter blade. This grants temporary hovering abilities and efficient side-to-side movement. Furthermore, the spinning spear serves as a defense mechanism, delivering multiple hits to nearby airborne enemies. The added benefit of using the spear underwater contributes to its appeal, avoiding a repetitive reliance on water-spitting attacks. While the spear's moves and movements may feel somewhat limited, the ability to utilize it underwater is a welcomed feature. Next is Ice Kirby. We gotta give Ice Kirby some style points for how he moves. Instead of running like he normally does, he literally skates along the ground, which can actually come in handy in certain environments. Not to mention that he just looks so majestic while doing this. One of Ice Kirby's main gimmicks is being able to freeze certain items and enemies completely solid. If Kirby makes any contact with these new ice blocks, he can launch them straight forward for another attack at distant enemies. How you damage and or freeze your enemies is up to you. You can use the standard ice breath, spin around while breathing ice, the spin speed is also changeable, or encase himself in ice in some way, to name a few. These types of moves can really be helpful during boss fights, if there is something the boss has for you to freeze. If they don't, the ice ability is not the most ideal. Under normal circumstances though, ice is pretty fun. Now we have Tornado Kirby. If you're a speedrunner, then Tornado Kirby will be your closest friend, as you can traverse through many levels very quickly using the tornado attack. The only catch is that it can be relatively difficult to control when you aren't used to it. Once you do get the hang of it though, the tornado attack can be incredibly addicting, especially when you get to plow through enemies at the same time, since you're also pretty much invincible while spinning. You can also make it so you let out a bigger gust of wind at the end of the spin if you choose, while you can also throw tornado projectiles above or below you. Let's all be honest, most of us are just gonna stick to flying around as a living tornado. And why wouldn't we? It's so fun! And it can save us a lot of time. Maybe Tornado Kirby could be friends with the Tasmanian Devil from Looney Tunes, spinning around and defeating all their foes together. Up next is an ability that will rock your world, Stone Kirby. This ability never gets old, even though its moveset is pretty minimal. Every time Kirby turns into stone in the air and rips through enemies before colliding with the ground, it's always a fun experience. It's also a nice touch that Kirby can transform into so many different things made out of stone that are based on other characters and objects. While it's true that Kirby cannot move on his own while in his stone forms, there are a couple of factors that make up for this. For one, while transformed, Kirby is nigh invincible, so it can really help you when you're in a tough situation, such as having little health during a boss fight. Second, while Kirby cannot move on flat ground, unless you count Turbo Stone, he can still slide down slopes with ease. If there are any enemies or destroyable objects in the way on Kirby's ride down, he'll just go right through them. A bonus comes in the fact that Stone Kirby can pound in stakes and break through certain blocks that most other abilities might not be able to. The cherry on top is that, while most iterations of Stone Kirby only let him turn into stone and not much else, Return to Dreamland gives Kirby access to a move called Stone Uppercut. This lets Kirby punch enemies with a fist made out of stone, dealing a decent amount of damage and sends his enemies flying. It's all these little touch-ups and add-ons that really help Stone Kirby stand out so much. Alright, let's warm up a little bit. It's time for Fire Kirby. Fire Kirby, a classic and versatile ability, offers warmth after Ice Kirby's appearance. With an array of moves, Fire Kirby benefits from the incorporation of the burning ability from previous games. Breathing fire is a primary skill, with the added advantage of controlling the angle and distance of the flames to a certain extent. Other moves include aerial spins while exhaling fire and rolling as a flaming ball. The standout move occurs when Kirby brings the fire closer, transforming into the powerful Fireball Inferno. Although immobile during this state, it inflicts massive damage to nearby foes, making Fire Kirby enjoyable and efficient against enemies and bosses alike. Interestingly, the deluxe version of Return to Dreamland introduces additional moves exclusive to Fire Kirby. Searing Burn allows Kirby to launch forward as a fast-moving fireball, with the option to stop the burn attack prematurely through a mid-explosion. Fireball Jump enables Kirby to go airborne while maintaining the rolling fireball form. Fire Kirby also boasts environmental advantages, such as igniting fuses for cannons that lead to special or secret areas with unique items or energy spheres. The ability's versatility in combat, combined with the expanded moveset and practical applications, adds to its overall appeal. Next is Beam Kirby. This classic ability may not have a wide range of attacks, but it maximizes the ones it possesses. The primary attack, Beam Whip, excels at sweeping the area directly in front, serving both offensive and defensive purposes. Its ability to travel through walls is a significant advantage, allowing Kirby to hit enemies or objects that are otherwise out of reach. Revolution Beam is similar, usable in the air for extended durations, albeit losing practically after a few seconds. Psycho Beam functions as a standard dash attack, covering a decent amount of ground during the lunge. Now on to the favorites. Charging the Beam Whip instead of immediate use unleashes the powerful Wave Beam, capable of damaging multiple enemies in its path, particularly effective against larger foes. Finally, the addictive Beam Blast move. After dashing, attacking in the air releases a flurry of smaller beams in front, which can be repeated multiple times before landing. This move quickly racks up damage, particularly beneficial against ground-based bosses. While Beam Kirby may lack a diverse moveset, the available moves are swift, relatively potent, and undeniably enjoyable. Let's cover one of the newest abilities added, Mecha Kirby. Distinct from anything in Planet Robobot, Mecha Kirby draws inspiration from the Jet ability, emphasizing maneuverability. Its rocket-based movements, Rocket Flight and Rocket Dash, offer precise control and even damage enemies in close proximity with emitted exhaust. But Mecha Kirby offers more than just mobility. It boasts a range of projectile attacks that can be efficiently spammed. Various shocking and burning techniques provide versatility, adapting to different attack range. Blazing and Inferno Palm excel in close combat. Fireball mortars offer mid-range capabilities and the ability to ignite cannon fuses. Shock Bombs target enemies below, and Shock Knuckle serves as a reliable dash attack. The standout feature lies in Mecha Kirby's Blaster Cannon. Charged to different levels, it unleashes enhanced effects, and when fully charged, can be stored for precise timing, penetrating both enemies and walls. This copy ability provides numerous combat options, showcases environmental utility, and lives up to the excitement surrounding its introduction. Now we have Spark Kirby. Spark is an ability that has taken some of its attributes from the similar Plasma form, and we're okay with that. One of its primary gimmicks is being able to charge your electric attacks to varying levels. As a result, the type of attack that you can launch also varies depending on said level. The stronger ones do require a little bit of mashing or shaking, but it's well worth it. Before Kirby even launches an attack here, an electric barrier begins to form around him, growing in size as more electricity is charged up. This alone helps Spark Kirby gain quite a few spots on the list. Having this barrier, especially as it gets bigger, is a great form of defense against basic enemies and projectiles as Kirby continues to move around. This is all while having a powerful attack at the ready. Kirby can get a barrier like this with the standard Spark attack. However, Kirby is unable to move while using it, so we don't find ourselves using it as much. To top it all off, you're also given the use of Thunderbolt and Lightning Strike, which allows Kirby to attack the lightning either directly above or below him respectively. This is actually pretty helpful since the charged attacks, while powerful, only attack horizontally, making them useful for covering the areas the others can't reach. For the first entry in our top 5, we have Leaf Kirby. While leaves may seem unassuming, in Kirby's hands, they become formidable. His standard leaf attack hurls spiraling leaves, reaching awkward angles and distant foes. The standout move is Leaf Swirl, encircling Kirby in a defensive and offensive tornado, capable of sustained use and subsequent leaf projectiles. However, mobility is limited in this state. Leaf Dance, a finite version of Leaf Swirl, can be used while dashing. Leaf Kirby also shares an invincibility trait with Stone, utilizing Leaf Hide to shield himself beneath a pile of leaves. Emerging from the foliage still allows for some damage. This maneuver proves useful for dealing damage while evading perilous attacks. Additionally, Leaf Kirby possesses an uppercut move for swift and consistent damage against nearby aerial enemies. The Leaf Rain attack mirrors kunai throwing, covering a considerable area below when airborne. With its defensive and offensive capabilities, Leaf Kirby remains a valuable addition in recent games, and we hope to see its continued presence. Mecha Kirby was not the only copy ability that debuted in the deluxe version of this game. Sand Kirby was the other one. The developers are 2 for 2 with introducing new copy abilities that we love to use. Its unique aesthetic stands out, but what truly impresses us is how it combines the best moves from other abilities into one cohesive package. Moves like Sand Wave, Sand Dash, and Sand Burst resemble Water Kirby's attacks, while Sand Grab mirrors Whip Kirby's grabbing ability, but with the added ability to throw enemies. Sand Golem Smasher shares similarities with Stone Kirby's ground pound attacks and the ability to break blocks. Sand Hurricane brings together elements of Leaf Swirl and Tornado, creating a powerful whirlwind effect. Sandstorm Ball allows Kirby to attack above or below him, akin to other abilities. Sand Hide functions similarly to Leaf Hide, providing protection and damaging nearby enemies upon emergence. For added mobility, Sand Geyser enables Kirby to jump out of the sand with high jump-like attacks. And let's not forget Sand Castle, where Kirby forms a sand castle to deal damage. While Sand Kirby borrows moves from other abilities, the result is a versatile and enjoyable gameplay experience. One can only imagine the incredible power Sand Kirby could wield if inspired by Gaara from Naruto. The bronze medal goes to the iconic Sword ability. This versatile ability boasts a range of attacks that cover various combat situations. Vertical strikes like upward slash and down thrust, sword dive, multi-slash moves, the dash attack drill stab, the rotational sword spin, and the aerial onslaught of chop and thrust make for an enjoyable moveset. What sets Sword Kirby apart is the clear homage to Link from the Legend of Zelda franchise, complete with the iconic green hat. At full health, Sword Kirby can unleash energy projectiles with his basic attack, reminiscent of Link's abilities. The Spin Slash, a recognizable move of Link's, adds to the homage. In the deluxe version, 3 new moves strengthen the connection to the hero of Hyrule. Twister Slash allows Kirby to jump while performing a spinning attack, resembling Link's up B move in Super Smash Bros. Lastly, the Sky Energy Sword channels energy into Kirby's blade, enabling him to launch a projectile akin to Link's Skyward Strike from The Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword. This not only pays homage, but also grants Kirby a ranged attack without requiring full health. Additionally, Sword Kirby retains its effectiveness underwater, providing an advantage over many other abilities. The silver medal goes to Fighter Kirby. This is a special ability to us because it just seems to get better and better the more you practice with it. Fighter may seem very daunting at first, given how many moves and variations of them it has in its arsenal. However, once you really start to get the hang of them, this copy ability can be incredibly addicting. Just a spin kick and rising break alone are so much fun to hit enemies with. Not to mention his Vulcan jab, which translated over to Smash, that hits so many times so quickly and is satisfying to watch. But if you didn't want to just use punches and kicks, Fighter Kirby gives you other options. For one, the leg sweep lets you slide through multiple enemies at once. You also have Force Blast and its more powerful variations, which appear to take a page from Street Fighter. Even the move, Instant Mega Force Blast, requires an input similar to that found in the aforementioned game. Finally, Fighter Kirby has a couple of moves that he borrowed from his previous suplex ability. By grabbing his opponent, Kirby can then proceed to throw his enemy either forward or behind him. There are multiple different fighting styles embedded into this one ability. If you can master it, Fighter Kirby is a solid selection for just about any moment in combat. After exploring 25 other abilities, we have arrived at the top. The prestigious gold medal goes to the Hammer ability. While it may not boast the flashiness, versatility, or complex combos of other abilities, it remains an unbeatable choice, with one exception we'll address. The sheer power behind the hammer is immensely satisfying, delivering a profound impact when it connects with someone or something. You can opt for a single swing as a standard attack, or charge it up for a triple hammer strike. Need to perform a mid-air acrobatic giant swing? Dash beforehand for an even faster ultra giant swing. For enemies below, rely on the hammer twirl. Want to deal multiple hits to foes on both sides? The hammer swing has you covered, offering invulnerability during its execution. Environmental advantages abound as well. Need to drive stakes into the ground or break metal blocks? The hammer is your go-to. Moreover, it's one of the few abilities usable underwater, functioning similarly to the sword in that realm. Yet, the true standard move that propels the hammer ability to the top is undeniably the hammer flip. Engulfing the hammer in flames, Kirby delivers a mighty blow to his foes and even ignites cannon fuses. The developers decided to bestow massive damage potential upon this attack, allowing it to be used repeatedly in quick succession. In Kirby's arenas, or true arenas, it's highly likely that many have exploited the hammer flip to swiftly overcome bosses. Its sheer power and effectiveness make boss rushes a breeze. Imagine the ease of boss rushes if we could repeatedly unleash the super equivalent, the Grand Hammer.